Hey everyone, it's Marvin. Thanks so much for listening to Books and Boba. I just wanted to take a quick second to remind you that Books and Boba just launched our Patreon to help support our future endeavors. Rira and I have been running Books and Boba for the last 6.5 years, and we've always talked about wanting to do more, including expanding our content offerings, being able to go to book events and do more coverage. And so to help us get closer to those ambitions, we started a Patreon to help us grow and to better support books by Asian and Asian American authors. We are offering 2 tiers for our Patreon. The first is our regular Boba member coming in at $3 a month, which will give you access to our brand new Books and Boba Discord server, so you can engage with your fellow Books and Boba Club members and also Rira and myself in real time. This is where we'll be aiming to move the bulk of our book club discussions, but rest assured we'll still have a presence on Goodreads as well. And our premium tier is our Honey Boba member tier, coming in at $5 a month, where in addition to access to our Discord server, you'll also get access to our monthly Boba Chats, a bonus podcast where Rira and I and some guests will get together each month and have a more casual discussion on stuff that may or may not be book related, as well as answer some listener Q&A. Honey Boba members will also have access to a poll to help decide an official Books and Boba book pick once per quarter. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, support Books and Boba on Patreon by going to patreon.com/booksandboba. As always, Rira and I really appreciate your support. All right, thanks for listening, and I'm on with the show.
You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
And hey, welcome back to Books and Boba, a book club and podcast featuring books by Asian and Asian American authors. My name is Marvin Yue.
And I'm Ribay Yu.
It is the middle of July, which means once again it's time to go over the latest Asian American book and publishing news. Rira, how has your July been going?
It's been going okay. I can't believe it's July already. Like, summer is almost over, but it feels like an oven in LA.
You said really, it's only just begun, really.
Yeah, it really does feel like summer has just begun.
Not to get bogged down in weather talk, but summers in LA lasts until October. So we're in for it, and it's supposed to be the hottest one yet. So, is our planet doomed? Maybe. I don't know. We've read enough dystopias to know where we're headed down, right?
Yeah. I did manage to get my second booster, so I'm
congratulations.
Pretty relieved about that.
You are now well protected in the fight in your personal fight against COVID, and I'm happy for you because there's a new variant, right? There's a new Omicron. There's a new variant of the variant.
Yeah, and the current vaccine doesn't protect you from it, but it protects me from regular COVID, like Delta. My family got COVID. My youngest brother got it, and he's like, he's negative now, but it was really bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, and my dad might have it as well, so I'm just like, not taking my chances. I'm going to a concert next week. I was like, I can't.
All right. Well, I hope you the best of luck as you brave that concert next week.
Oh, yeah.
At least you're decked out in the latest antivirus armor. So,
yeah, I also have like the strongest mask ever for this concert. It's like double fitted. So I'm like, I am not getting COVID. If I do, I will die, like I said. So fingers crossed that I'll be okay next weekend.
Yeah.
How about you, Marvin? How have you been?
I have been all right. Summer so far has been pretty uneventful. I don't have the second booster. I didn't even know they were giving out second boosters to people our age. So I need a...
No, they're not. They're not. Just lie. It was almost the last shot I got was back in November. So I was like, all protection is gone now. So I was like, I have to get it no matter what. So if you can get it, just get it. Some pharmacists are cool with it because they just have expired shots on their shelves. So it helps to check.
Yeah. All right. Well, that has been COVID talk from Books and Boba. But we are actually here to talk about books, believe it or not. And as always, Rira has compiled the latest publishing news from Asian and Asian American authors from various sources, including Publishers Weekly and social media. So, should we get started?
Yeah, sure. Our first book deal is Harper's imprint Alida Books has acquired in a preempt You Are Here, Connecting Flights, a middle grade exploration of contemporary Asian American identity told through interwoven stories set in a busy Chicago airport. Written by 12 award-winning and best-selling East and Southeast Asian American authors. And it was edited by We Need Diverse Books co-founder Ellen Oh, and created in response to the rise of anti-Asian hate and violence during the pandemic. The book presents stories of hope and affirmation and will help launch the Alida imprint. The 12 writers are Traci Chee, Mike Chen, Meredith Ireland, Mike Jung, Erin Entrada Kelly, Min Lei, Grace Lin, Ellen Oh, Linda Sue Park, Randy Ribay, Christina Soontornvat, and Susan Tan. Publication is slated for winter 2023. Alida Books is a new imprint that was founded by Linda Sue Park, and it is Alida. It means to spread knowledge or to let people know. So it's a Korean word that has been Romanized, and it's really cool that we have our own like Asian American imprint at HarperCollins. So victory for us.
I love that it is specifically for us and not like a part of a general diversity I guess project. Not that those aren't important either, but sometimes when you have someone looking specifically for Asian American stories, we get to have more of them. But I love this idea of centering short stories around an airport because I'm sure you're the same way, but a lot of my childhood memories, especially with visiting family, has been around airports.
Yeah, I didn't see my family that often in Korea. Like when I was younger, it was definitely more often, but we just like couldn't afford to fly out every summer. So it was probably like one every 2-3 years. But yeah, very familiar with airports. I mean, I immigrated here when I was 3 years old. So technically, been flying since I was a baby, pretty much. And my younger brother, he was literally a baby. He was 1 month old. So yeah, airports are a very familiar settings for this diaspora.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when people think about when immigrants come to America, they still think boats for some reason. But most people just come on airports. Even a lot of people that would be considered like undocumented came into the country through airports.
Yeah, I mean, we still use the word fob. And for Korean Americans, the joke is fresh off the piengi and not fresh off the boat. And piengi means plane in Korean. So
yeah.
Clever.
But yeah, no, congratulations to Linda Sue Park, to L&O, to everyone involved in this project. And yeah, looking forward to what else Alida Books will be bringing out. I'm going to keep my eyes on this imprint.
Yeah, and there's a couple of familiar names among the 12 writers. Some of them have been on the podcast, and some of them we've read their books for book club. So we know that they're great, talented writers.
Very exciting. All right, next up, Inkyard Press has acquired in an exclusive submission On Liang's I Am Not Jessica Chen. After getting rejected by every Ivy League she applied to, a teenage art student makes a wish to become her enviably perfect cousin, Jessica Chen, only to wake up in Jessica's body and discover firsthand the cost of being the model student at an elite cutthroat academy. Publication is slated for summer 2024. It's been a while since we've had like a Freaky Friday situation on our
I was about to say, yeah,
news,
it
right?
does remind me of Freaky Friday.
But this Freaky Friday situation I can totally relate to because, I mean, unless you were that person, everyone has a Jessica Chen in their life, right?
Everybody had a cousin where you were compared to. Yeah, I like being from a family where like almost all of my cousins on my dad's side of the family were valedictorians. Like one of them is actually like studying to be a rocket scientist, like literally wants to work for NASA and is working on his PhD. I'm just like, oh my God, being compared to him and my other cousins who are just like super, super smart. It was not fun. But at the same time, like I was that cousin where like on that side of the family, they're just like, oh, why can't you be like Rira? She is like fluent in English and is doing this. I'm like, why? Why do parents do this? Like,
I mean, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? If you're the STEM cousin, you want to be the art cousin. And if you're the art cousin, you want to be the STEM cousin. Because it seems like everyone loves that person more. I love that this is, the story itself. I feel like the beats are pretty, I can kind of picture what the beats are going to be, but because it's just a specific experience that I think a lot of us are familiar with, it's going to be really awesome. So I'm excited to see, I'm excited about the setup and excited to learn more
okay,
about.
but like the thing is, all right, so Jessica Chen, the cousin, is like the model student at like a private academy, right? But it sounds like the protagonist is like pretty smart too, because considering that she applied to every single Ivy League school, like you would not do that unless you were like pretty good with your grades.
I mean, there's nothing stopping
So it's not
you
like
from
this
applying
person
to Ivy
is
League
like
schools, though. I mean, you just got to pay the money. They don't need to take you. I mean, we can get into a whole thing about college admissions and how it's just a big scam these days.
I mean, there's enough documentaries out there where it covers that.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that she's rejected does not mean that she is not worthy. But, when you're a kid, you don't really see that. You just see this thing that's been your goal your entire life and how it's not going to happen. And that makes you mad and angry and enough to wish to switch bodies with someone who goes to I would never, I went to public school.
I would never.
I could never.
Oh my God.
Going to private
I would never
academy.
be able to survive.
Yeah. Sounds like
way.
a nightmare.
But like as a former art student who like applied to like a bunch of art colleges plus Ivy League schools, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you applying to Ivy League schools for art programs? They're not that great. Like actually, if you're halfway decent at art, if you're halfway decent at art and you have like pretty solid grades, I feel like you have a much better chance than like regular undecided majors.
That's true. I mean, where would you go? Like RISD or?
Yeah, you go to RISD or Pratt or School of Arts in Chicago or FIT. There's like just so many art schools. But
here's the thing. I wonder if the story will get this nuanced, but Asian parents don't know what the hell RISD is.
No, they do. They totally do. Yeah. I mean, like my parent. Okay, like we're kind of going off tangent, but like.
But your mom is also an art person, though.
I mean, like my art school, my art teachers were like gung ho about me getting into like Ivy League schools. So they were like, there was like a lot of pressure, and RISD was my safety school. Wow. And I did not get into RISD, and everybody was very, very shocked because they're like, what the hell? Like your portfolio was really good. But I got accepted into like Pratt and like all the other art schools. But according to them, they were just like, oh, but it's like not an Ivy League school. Like you should have been able to like get in because of your portfolio. But I was waitlisted.
Yeah. Obviously, this book has touched a nerve. So congratulations.
Yes,
to An for making us relive our past.
I never want to go back to high school. Like the thought of applying to college again sounds like a nightmare that I still get nightmares about like my high school days.
Like, yeah, especially applying schools now. Like when applying to, like I applied to school when we were still using like paper applications. That's how old I am.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think only a few, like half the schools I applied to, like the private ones had online applications, so I was able to submit it online. The UCs were still using a universal paper application.
I would not know. I did not apply to a single UC school. I was like, I'm going to East Coast school. There's no way I'm going to stay in the South. No way I'm going to the West Coast because the East Coast is all cultured. And I did not know what I was thinking. Now I'm just like, I never want to live in the East Coast because it's cold. Okay, well, moving on. What's our next book deal, Marvin?
I think it's your turn.
No, it's not. Oh, wait. Yeah, you're right. It is my turn. All right. So our next book deal is Quill Tree has acquired North American rights to Shirley Ng-Benitez's author-illustrator debut, Down Through Up. A girl struggles with change and rediscovers herself somewhere new while finding ways to connect to the roots of home in this multi-generational picture book honoring sewing, San Francisco, and the threads of heritage that stitch her family together. And the publication is tentatively set for spring 2024.
Oh, Down Through Up is talking about sewing. I don't
Sewing.
sew, so I have no idea. I was like, Down Through. Is
I
that like?
wish I knew how to sew. I feel like that is a life skill that they fail to teach us in public school. Because I actually wrote a tweet like not that long ago saying I should have taken home economics instead of band because like learning how to play oboe is so useless compared to like knowing how to hem your pants and knowing how to cook dinner.
This is true.
Actually, like when I was younger, I went to private school, so I had like a uniform, and it did, like my parents did the thing of like buying a uniform that was too big so that they could like hem the length. So as I grew, like they could lower the hem. But my mom doesn't know how to sew, but my dad does. So my dad like hemmed my skirts. And
Nice.
I'm just like, yeah, that's a life skill that people should learn. And
Yeah.
it's a skill that my parents did not teach me. And I'm like, why? Clearly it's useful, but why?
Yeah. All right, our next book deal, Alita has acquired Secrets, an autobiographical middle-grade graphic novel by debut author-illustrator Cindy Chang. Secrets follows sixth grader Cindy, the daughter of Taiwanese immigrants, as she navigates relationships at home, at school, and an unexpected trip to Taiwan. Amid struggling with her parents' taboo separation and family secrets, Cindy seeks to find her artistic style and to use her own voice. Publication is slated for winter 2025.
Seems like a book that you can relate to, Marvin. We were just talking about summer trips to Taiwan.
I love that Alita is also doing graphic novels. Lots of cool projects coming from there, apparently. I think Secrets is just a part of being a kid, and especially being like a part of like an immigrant family, because there's a lot of things that our parents hide from us in order to like quote unquote give us a better life, because they don't want us to worry, not knowing that those secrets kind of make us worry, right?
Also, they have the benefit of, you know, like all the family members being in a different country. So you can't even ask other people.
This is true. Yeah, I'm excited to see more of this when it comes out, especially seeing a trip to Taiwan in graphic novel form sounds pretty cool. So congrats to Cindy on her deal with Alita.
All right, next up, Sourcebooks Jabberwocky have acquired world rights to How This Book Got Read by Margaret Chu Greanias. The book is about a red panda who finds out that none of her panda books have pandas like her in them, so she decides to write her own book. Melissa Ui will illustrate, and the publication is set for fall 2023.
That's cute.
I think it's a good follow-up to Churning Red.
I know, now that everyone knows what red pandas are, it's time to capitalize.
I feel like people did know what red pandas were because of Legend of Korra.
I've been on record saying that I've never seen an Avatar, The Last Airbender, or its spin-offs, and I still have not. Waiting to launch that Patreon for us to dive into that. If people really want to see me watch that long series, I guess.
It's not that long, to be honest. It's like, I think it's like 2 anime series.
Oh.
Like short anime series. Not even like, it's not like Gundam where it goes on forever. But this book sounds really cute. It is definitely reminiscent of like BIPOC authors who have to create their own representation in stories. So I think it's going to be really cute.
Yeah, it's a good metaphor for like, even let's say Southeast Asian authors reading all of these East Asian stories saying, I'm not in this,
yeah.
right? Because pandas are not a monolith. There are black and white pandas and there are red pandas. So, got to represent everybody.
Isn't Agretsuko a red panda?
I thought she was a fox. Wasn't she just a fox?
No, I am pretty sure she's Agretsuko. Hold on. I'm Wikipediaing this because I need to know. Okay, so hold on. Yeah. Retsuko is a 25-year-old single red panda working in the accounting department. Yep. All right.
Oh.
So red pandas today. Yeah, mainstream media.
All right. Our next deal. Delacorte Press has bought Rebecca Lim's Tiger Daughter, a mature middle grade novel about finding your voice amid the pressures of growing up in an immigrant home, told from the perspective of a remarkable Chinese girl. Publication is scheduled for summer 2023.
Oh, so it's like Tiger Mother, Tiger Daughter.
Yeah, that title connotes either the daughter of a tiger mom or like a daughter who is like a tiger mom. Because I feel like I don't know if you know anybody like this, but I've met people who like give themselves pressure that their parents don't even give them, usually through like peer pressure, right? Like, the pressure doesn't come from your own parents, but like the parents of your peers who are like, to call back to earlier, a Jessica Chen type, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I knew a couple of Asian kids in my school who were like super hardcore about like AP classes and like getting like all the best scores on their SATs. When they were applying for like college applications, they were like at the brink of a mental breakdown every single time. And it's like, your parents are pretty cool with it. I don't understand why like you're freaking out right now, but it's because they put that pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It says pressures of growing up in an immigrant home. So I'm guessing that this is like about a daughter who has a tiger mom.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably more like Occam's razor, right? That's probably what it is. I'm just, thinking about tiger daughters and how those people exist too.
Yeah, they exist. Yeah.
A mature middle grade, though, I guess that means it's more a serious one, right? It's like less of because growing up, I did read middle grade novels that were what we would call sad times books. And I guess, is that what this is?
I feel like middle grade novels, I feel like the genre of middle grade didn't really exist. Everything was just under children's literature. So now I feel like middle grade, it's either like packaged in a very like hopeful and uplifting way. So they have to say mature in order to like,
to say this is
make
about
people
like
understand that it's like, oh, it's not happy times.
That makes sense.
All right, next up, Imagination Press has bought world rights to Frizzy-Haired Zuzu by Medeia Sharif, and it was illustrated by Basma Hazam. It is a picture book about accepting and loving your appearance, even if others don't. Publication is scheduled for fall 2023.
Hair content is always important because I feel like, especially for kids, it's like the easiest thing to make fun of someone else for having different hair.
I kind of had the opposite issue where like I had like perfectly straight hair and people would constantly say like, oh, your hair is like so shiny and straight. And I'm like, it's not anything to be super proud of. But like comparing my hair to like other kids with frizzy hair, curly hair, like those kids never got compliments. And it's like always really awkward when you have someone like that in your group and someone is like complimenting you on your feature.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing in like when you're with other Asian kids and they're like, oh my God, your skin is so pale. And you have like, and like you have tan skin and it makes you feel really bad. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't think we can blame that on Western beauty standards because I think
that's definitely
equally
Eastern,
fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't get as much at school, but whenever I went in for a haircut as a kid, because my hair is also like straight and pretty thick, and I would get a compliment every time I went to like an Asian barber, saying that, oh, they wish they had my hair, which...
I mean, like with me, like the hair on my head, yeah, it's like thick and like very luscious, but I have hair everywhere. Like I have hair on my arms, and like I have to like shave like more frequently than other people. And it's like, yeah, I used to get made fun of that too. So it's like you get complimented on the hair on your head, but also people are like, hair is unacceptable in other parts of your body. So it's a mess.
Beauty standards are, we gotta rethink those.
Yep, definitely when it comes to hair. Yep.
But yeah, congrats to Medeia and Basma on their book, and fighting the good fight of, getting hair representation out there, because, sometimes it's weird, right? Because I feel like a lot of my older friends actually want their hair to be more curly these days.
Oh, my dad got a perm. Like, so he could look like the guy from Boys Over Flower. Don't ask.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a huge thing. But yeah,
I didn't know that Asians could have naturally curly hair until I saw Sandra Oh, and I was like, oh wow, like that's natural. Like she didn't get a perm for that. That's like awesome. But I'm sure growing up, she probably got like a couple comments about it.
Oh, she probably got auntied hard like every time she went to like a family thing.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. All right. Pour one out for everyone who's ever had to deal with that, which is everybody. Next up, Union Square Kids has bought in a preempt author-illustrator Pam Fong's picture book, Hedgehog and the Log, about a hedgehog who finds a way to move forward and rebuild when his house falls apart. Publication is scheduled for fall 2023.
What does it say about me that every time someone says hedgehog, I immediately think of Sonic?
Oh, same. Our brains are broken because of pop culture. Because real hedgehogs are just like
they're really
round
cute,
and
though.
round.
Real hedgehogs.
Yeah, this sounds really cute. Hedgehogs are very cute. Hedgehogs building houses, probably very cute as well. And we always need some stories about perseverance and not giving up. So yeah, congrats.
I don't even know, like, are hedgehogs like beavers where their houses are made of sticks? I don't know like what their natural habitat is.
I have no idea neither. The only hedgehogs
I've met are like pets.
Yeah,
that you like. In cages.
I've only seen them in like Instagram posts of them like scurrying around like the living room. So actually, I have no idea.
Yeah. Maybe we'll learn. All right. So our last book deal is HarperCollins Quill Tree have bought 4 novels by Newbery Honor author Rajani LaRocca. The deal includes The Sound of Magic, a middle-grade fantasy about a girl who battles the lasting effects of colonialism and greed to save her homeland, and the publication is set for winter 2024. The second book, Nothing But the Truth, is a TA reimagining of Sita's story from the Ramayana, and the publication is set for 2025. The third book, Mystery Party, is a middle-grade novel in which 6 middle schoolers are invited to a reclusive billionaire's mansion, but must solve the mystery of his unexpected disappearance. And the publication is set for 2026. And the final book, Chemistry Lessons, is a YA rom-com inspired by Jane Austen's Emma that explores the true nature of beauty. And the publication is set for 2027. Wow, 4 books. Yeah, get your coin, Rajani.
Yeah. Congratulations. That is amazing. And, it's cool that all of these stories are
very different. Like different genres, like fantasy, contemporary, like YA. I'm particularly interested in the in Mystery Party, where like the group of middle schoolers are at like a clue mansion and they have to figure out a mystery. It sounds very Scooby-Doo, and I love it. So,
yeah, no, I'm impressed. I'm always impressed when an author is able to write in so many different genres. For me, it's The Sound of Magic sounds really cool. You know me, and fantasy battles against colonialism, and also the Emma one sounds interesting too.
I feel like I've been seeing a lot of Emma adaptions recently. Like before, it was like a lot of Pride and Prejudice, and now I'm seeing like more Emma adaptations. And I wonder if it's because of the most recent movie adaptation of Emma.
It could be. I mean, I feel like Emma is like the archetype for like the mean girls, right? Like stereotype.
Well, not really the mean girl, but like definitely the popular girl who like thinks that she knows everything and is like constantly thinking that, their opinion is always right.
That's true. And I mean,
yeah.
Unlike Pride and Prejudice, you can do an Emma that doesn't have like a romance in it. But you can't do a Pride and Prejudice without a romance, right? So
I do want to see more adaptations of Persuasion because
the Netflix one is coming out.
But it's not good. It's not good.
I don't think. Do we want to get into Persuasion talk on this podcast?
But like with Persuasion, I like having a bitter female character. So
yeah, I think that's one story that probably didn't need to be Emma-fied, but
yeah. Well, we can't all get what we want, and a lot of the times adaptations can be lacking if they don't take like a route where they try to make it their own. Sometimes it backfires.
But you know who can get everything they want? Rajani LaRocca, who got 4 book deals. So congratulations.
Yay.
Yeah. And
we love to see it.
All right.
All right. So that is a wrap for our book deals. We have a couple of brief book news that we can go over. So the first piece of news is that the 100th Newbery Medal Caldecott and Legacy Banquet was held on June 26th in DC. And it was a live event. So a lot of amazing authors were able to make it. And I'm just going to go over our Asian American authors who got their prizes. So illustrator Jason Chen, he won the Caldecott Medal for Watercress, which was written by Andrea Wang, who we've had on this show. Yeah, and she received a Newbery honor for the book. And then Grace Lin won the 2022 Children's Literature Legacy Award. And Grace Lin is OG, like she's been around for a very long time. Her works include The Ugly Vegetables, which was published in 1999, The Year of the Dog, Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, and Big Mooncake for Little Star, which won the Caldecott honor back in 2019. So she had this amazing speech, and if you can go find it on YouTube or the Newbery site, that would be great. But I'm just going to read an excerpt from her speech because I think it was like really, it really strikes home if you're Asian American. So, our country is so used to seeing Asians as caricatures or sidekicks, as non-existent or exactly the same, and almost always as a foreign other. Asian Americans have paid a steep price for the otherness throughout history and today. From the Chinese Exclusion Act to Japanese American internment to the recent violent anti-Asian attacks, to be seen as a foreign other, whether consciously or unconsciously, is harmful. It is demeaning and damaging for our children, for everyone. So for the past 24 years, I have deliberately created children's books showing that Asians are not other, that Asians are people, that Asians are people who have best friends, who have families, who have holidays, and who eat at restaurants. That Asian people have myths and delicacies and jokes and love. Creating these books that show how human we all are, has been my life's work. Sometimes I admit I did this work with resentment. Other times I did it with pride. But I have always done it with conviction. From books ranging from gardening to flying dragons, from dumplings to moon phases, my message has always been the same. We are your classmates, we are your friends, we are your families, we are you. And none of us needs to prove that we are good enough to exist. None of us needs to earn our acceptance here. Snap,
Word.
Snap, snap.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like that is every time we do a picture book about culture, that is what we meant to say. So retroactively, that's what we meant to say for all those books.
Like Grace Lin, like The Year of the Dog isn't the only like Zodiac book that she wrote. I think she wrote like a Zodiac book for each animal. And every time I look up Lunar New Year books, Like her books are at the very top of my picks. So
Yeah. And, like you said, she is an OG. And there's something to be said about those forerunners who started writing before anyone else, that they wrote these stories and they put these stories together because they felt like they had to, because they needed to. And sometimes that is, both of us have worked in community organizing, both of us have worked in, community focused organizations. And, sometimes you do get a little angry that like
that we have to do the
you
work.
feel like you have to do the work because no one else is willing or has a chance right now. So you have to do it so that other people can follow. Yeah, for sure. Well, congrats to all the winners. Like, it's always great to see Asian Americans and Asians win these like prestigious book awards. Another award that I wanted to bring up was Fonda Lee, maybe unsurprisingly at this point, won the Locus Award for Best Fantasy Novel for Jade Legacy.
I feel like she won that award like every single time a Jade Legacy book came out.
I mean,
as she should.
I know. It's the best book out there.
Oh, but there was recent news that Jade Legacy, which was picked up by Peacock a couple of, is it a couple of years ago now? Like 2 years
Jade
now?
City was optioned to Peacock as a potential television series. And they dropped it, right?
Yeah, they dropped it recently.
Which is a huge bummer.
But also, Peacock, we don't have to get a subscription for it.
That's true.
I mean, it's a bummer, but also I'm just like, please, like HBO Max, Hulu, someone, please pick it up.
I'm hoping this will go the path of like Fire Island, which originally was Quibi, and went to Hulu afterwards. Like, I just, it's such a great story, and whoever picks it up is going to have like a hit on their hands. So, still holding out hope that it's going to happen.
All right, our next piece of news. Recently, authors have been protesting Amazon's ebook policy, which allows readers to return their books after a certain number of time. We got the source from NPR, and the story goes, earlier this month, Lisa Keller, a paranormal romance author, logged into like Kindle Direct Publishing to check her earnings from the previous month, and she actually had a negative earnings balance. And the reason for that was because her book got returned on Kindle. And this has kind of like started a conversation on Twitter about like pirating books, and also like what is the right way for royalties to be paid to authors for ebooks, and also, spreading awareness that, you can rent ebooks online through libraries, like that exists. And why would you do this? Like, why would you return an ebook after you read it? Like,
I mean, I can't imagine doing it because I've worked in retail and consumer products. So I have a sense of, I guess, honor to my former profession to like not be that person. But I know plenty of people who still like torrent all of their TV shows. And I mean, people are cheap, and if they can get something for free, they will. And, there's like whole websites dedicated to
But the thing is, there are cheaper free ways to do this. And, like, I understand if you like bought an ebook and it turns out to be like freaking terrible. I feel like it's understandable if you read like less than 50% of the book and you're just like, you know what, this book is not good, I'm going to return it. I can totally understand that. But like people who finish the book and then return it, I mean, I'm not an author, but it must be very, dispiriting seeing your sales and then like going back and checking and seeing that people returned your book and you're not going to make any royalties off it.
I mean, I think the real story here is also these deal structures, right? Like self-publishing is kind of the Wild West, and it seems like the way that Amazon has set it up, all the costs are passed to the authors. So the authors actually carry the risk, right? Like Amazon's doing the tech thing, saying, "Oh, we're just a marketplace. We can't control what our customers do, and so we can't offer protections," right? Because the fact that self-publishing is basically you take on the risk of selling to order, and on one hand, the consumer behavior is pretty shitty, but at the same time, it's it is the marketplace that allows this to happen. And so, Amazon still makes money on each transaction. So honestly, the only people being hurt by this are the authors, right?
Well, also like people saying like, oh, I can't, like books should be free because, like it's like educational, and it's not fair because, people with money they're able to access all these books. And I'm like, yeah, but also like you're stealing money from creators, and that's not okay in my personal opinion.
Yeah, like library books are free, right? But not really. Library books are subsidized by the government. The government buys those books and puts it into libraries so that you can read it, right? So like we live in a capitalist society. Nothing is ever free. If you think something is free, you're being charged somewhere else. Someone else is paying for you. So what you're actually saying when you say that is you want someone to buy this book for you. And by doing this to authors, you're saying not only does the author not deserve to be compensated for the time they spent writing this book, they should also pay for me to read their work.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I can understand because of like a lot of libraries and, poorly funded areas, of course, they won't be able to buy like new books right away. And, with like book bans as well, school libraries are not getting certain types of books into their inventory. So yeah, there are obstacles, but
yeah, why don't we look at why are library digital copies like limited in number?
It has something to do with licensing.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, there's this scarcity that's very man-made, and it all comes down to money. And like it's much more complicated than consumers being shitty. It's consumers being shitty, companies being shitty, like just society being just like late stage capitalism just being the shit show that it is, right?
I mean, like when I say like pirating is bad and like people shouldn't steal from creators, like obviously I understand that like people without funds, like obviously like if they're torrenting as like a last result, like it's a little bit more understandable. But what I can't stand are like people who clearly have money, but they're going online and getting PDF versions of books that they really want to read, but they can't wait for the library to have it, or they just like don't want to pay for it. And I'm like, why? You're an adult. You have a job. Why are you not paying for this book that you want to read? It's really, I don't know. The fact that art is seen as so cheap when like some authors have spent years writing this book, and it goes for like visual art too. Like people who work so hard in painting and like posting their work on like Instagram and trying to like sell prints, and then just seeing people just steal that and like reposting it elsewhere or printing it on their own. It's like people see art as like such a cheap labor, and I think that's like another thing. That's another conversation. But so moving on, TikTok announced that it is partnering with Barnes & Noble to connect new book releases with the Book-tok community. Customers will be able to scan a QR code at the store, and it will take them to a dedicated hub that features videos from popular Book-tok creators. The source was pulled from NBC News, and wow, Book-tok. What a hot topic on book Twitter lately.
I am not familiar with the TikTok. I mean, I am an old.
Okay, so like recently, for those of you who have missed the most recent Book-tok drama, so a book editor recently said how like Book-tok is influencing the way publishers and editors are acquiring books, and there's this question of like, will quiet books without big concepts be able to get the same level of marketing as something that is like very popular in subject? And TikTok obviously is biased, and it's biased towards cis, straight, white creators who happen to be conventionally attractive. So obviously a lot of the books that get marketed kind of fall into those categories, and it's just like a question of like when you see books that are promoted on Book-tok and people are saying, this is an underrated book, but in reality, it's getting all of the mainstream push because they have a pretty big marketing budget. So there's been like a lot of conversation about that on book Twitter. And I don't know, like I've kind of lingered on Book-tok a bit, and sometimes it's very frustrating because people will recommend books that are already like New York Times bestsellers, or just books that are not good in my opinion. And I'm like, why is this book getting so much publicity when it's not good? And it's just very frustrating as someone who's Asian American and wants to see more BIPOC books being recommended.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not very familiar with TikTok or Book-tok in general, but I have noticed like some of the book influencers and media influencers in general. It seems like these like cycles center around the same books. Like every influencer is always pushing the same thing at the same time. And no, I get it. That's how you get your views, right? To get like locked into the algorithm is you have to be promoting what the popular people are promoting. So when people browse, you're the next video up. But at the same time, yeah.
Okay, like the thing is, like when I go to Barnes & Noble, because I've seen these TikTok tables, like they have like these displays of like what is popular on Book-tok, and I see ACOTAR in that pile, and I'm like, this series is a New York Times bestseller. It has like thousands of reviews on Goodreads, and personally, I'm not like a big fan of it. Also, it's like pretty horny, so having like young readers pick it up as well, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. I just feel kind of But I look at that table and display, and it's mostly white authors. And it is so infuriating because, like, now when you look at award-winning books, there are, like, more diverse books that are doing really well. And the fact that they're not getting as much attention, like I said, it's very infuriating. And
right.
The algorithm, obviously.
Unless it's the book about people of color written by a white woman.
Oh, God, those are the worst. It's like the fucking worst. Obviously, I have a lot of thoughts about this. I guess we're technically bookfluencers, and that's why we have this podcast, because we want to, support Asian American authors against the machine. But
we've been getting some feedback saying people have actually been reading some of our book picks, like older ones too, which, it's wild, but I'm glad to see that we're influencing somebody.
It's been interesting because we've had some authors reach out to us, like months later and being like, oh, I met someone at my book signing who said they found out about my book because they listened to your episode. And I'm like, that is so weird. Yeah. But I guess we're technically bookfluencers, Marvin.
I guess, but we're not
even though we don't do a good job on social media.
Well, we're not a slave to the algorithm. And also,
that's true.
I are bad at social media. So
it's just, I don't want to play the game. That's the thing.
We're too cool.
I'm anti-establishment.
Counterculture social media.
Yeah. Very, very old school. If there's a book that I really want people to read, I just buy people copies, or I just give them my copy.
Or you make me read it on this book club.
Yeah, that's true. I do. My way of spreading my love for books is bullying other people to read them. And guess what? It's very effective.
It is I appreciate your bullying. This is the only time I'll ever condone bullying is when you bully me to read.
Yeah. Or when I go to little libraries and I just stuff my books into those libraries and take out all of the really bad books in their little library. Like,
one of my neighbors actually built a tiny library on my block, so I actually put in a couple of the Asian American books that I've read in there. Spreading the Asian American book gospel. That's what we do.
Yeah. The gospel. Wow. Sounds super arrogant.
On that note, that'll do it for this edition of the Books and Boba mid-month update. As always, thanks for compiling all of our book and publishing news. Please.
Thank you for bearing with all of my angry rants.
It's what people, honestly, I feel like it's what people come on this podcast for.
I'm equivalent to like the grouchy old English teacher who is just like, very dissatisfied with the world.
I mean, that's growing up, right? Just becoming cynical husks of ourselves.
True.
But
I mean, I was already cynical when I was younger, so like the fact that I'm like even more cynical now is just.
At least we have our books.
At least we do have our books, and we do like the books that we read.
Yeah.
Speaking of books that we read, our July book club pick for those of you who have not started. Our July book club pick is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. It is a very short book, and it is a book that has been translated from Japanese by Jeffrey Trizalot, and it's about a cafe in a back alley in Tokyo that offers coffee that allows you to travel back in time, and your trip only lasts as long as the coffee is hot, so you have to return before the coffee gets cold. And the book follows 4 patrons, so it is a pretty lighthearted book. Even though it's time travel, it's very slice of life. So don't expect a lot of time travel theories. It's not Steins Gate. So
if I were them, I would put that coffee into a Zojirushi insulated mug, and then I'll just hang on the past for longer. All right. Well, if you've read the book as well, please leave us a comment on our Goodreads forums. That way we can include your feedback in our discussion. But with that, thanks for joining us on this episode of Books and Boba. As always, before I forget, you can find the books that we cover through our author interviews or our book club by going to our Books and Boba bookshop. We do run an online bookstore, and purchasing books on our bookshop does support both the podcast as well as your local bookstores as well. So we do appreciate everyone who has bought a book from us before. You can find a link to our bookstore by going to booksandboba.com. And yeah, that'll do it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Books and Boba. This podcast was hosted by Marvin Yue and Ribay Yu and edited and produced by Marvin Yue. Follow the book club on Twitter and Instagram by going to @BooksandBoba and engage with us on Goodreads on our Goodreads group. You can also check out past episodes of the podcast by going to booksandboba.com and by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast app. Don't forget, you can support Books and Boba and Asian American authors by purchasing books at our bookshop.org account. Check out the link in our show notes and also at booksandboba.com. Books and Boba is a proud member of the Potluck Podcast Collective, a collective of Asian American hosted podcasts featuring unique voices and stories from the Asian diaspora. Learn more about the collective and check out our fellow Potluck shows by visiting the website podcastpotluck.com. Thanks for listening.
Hey, I'm Phil Yu, and you may know me from a blog called Angry Asian Man.
And I'm Jeff Yang, author, journalist, and celebrity dad.
We host a podcast called They Call Us Bruce, an unfiltered conversation about what's happening in Asian America.
Each week or so, we host a discussion about some of the most vital and interesting topics in our pop culture and our community, bringing in guests who are shaping and informing this thing called Asian America from Hollywood to D.C. and beyond.
We got media, entertainment, food, family, politics, representation.
The good, the bad, the WTF of it all.
So check us out wherever you get your podcasts or at theycallusbruce.com.
Peace.
Peace.